Access more.
Hey, Chris, welcome on the podcast. Good to see you.
Hey, great to be your guest. First time on for me with you.
I know.
And you're a legend, so this makes me feel good. I finally made it.
Man, this is fun. We saw each other real quick out at the Oaks. You were doing something for a men's conference out there or something. I forget what that was, but I think there was football players involved.
There was a lot of people, a lot of dudes out there. Yeah. They drugged me in to, play some songs. And I was,
Hey, there's a lot of people that know of your music, and you've just encouraged and touched so many people. I'm one of them. But behind the scenes, there's this version of ourselves that everybody knows. They think Bob Goff, he's the happy old guy. He's just like, he's not going to be in the middle of a bunch of controversies or in somebody's grill about something. And I just have so much confidence. Faith guides my steps as it does yours. But I want people to feel welcome. I just want people from wherever they're coming from to feel welcome to a safe place. Who I am behind the scenes, while I come across as the super happy, like whatever guy, I'm actually kind of this extroverted introvert. Like I'm actually kind of a quiet guy. We just got done spending 2 months at the end of this inlet where we live in Canada, and there's a total of nobody there. And I was just great with that. I had just so much fun picking raspberries and mowing the lawn. Tell us about you. Tell us how you're perceived from the outside, and then there'll be a lot of similarities, but what are some of the things that most people wouldn't guess right away?
Well, yeah, I think when I think about it from the outside, that's an easy one because, it's what I sense. It's what I hear people say. And it's usually because you're on a stage that, especially when it comes to faith, it's just it's a wild thing, because I think people assume that I have this red phone to God that they don't have. And that's not true. I'm very much a person with flaws, and I just like anybody else. But definitely have a heart that wants people to connect with God. And for whatever reason, God's given me a place to be in front of people and help lead them. But, just like a lot of people feel like just as unworthy to be in that place as anybody else. But I think it's a different kind of pressure sometimes you feel, because I always thought, man, I always tell my wife, I wish I was just a country singer or just a pop singer. No one cares like how you live your life. Everybody, the worse things you do, the cooler you are, if you're in that music. But like with this responsibility of being in a place of with a spotlight on you or whatever that is, especially coming from faith, this seems like you just get more this standard of perfection you have to live to. And God's never asked you to do that. And he's never asked me to do that, but people do. And so I feel that a lot, but that's not, so that's what I feel from the external. It's like, wow, man, that guy, he must have it all together with the Lord. I mean, they must be like, it must be like, him and Elijah, they just walk together in the garden. It must be like Adam. They must just talk all the time. And the truth is, I struggle and have struggles just like anybody else, and even connecting to God in valleys, and I don't hear from God all the time, and those kind of things. But I'm pursuing. I'm still walking in that direction. Always walking that way. And then when you're on the stage, you're like, man, that you're this thing that comes alive. I mean, I in me that God put in me to connect with people. But I think like you, I'm very much, if I had just on my own, I honestly just love, I love just being with my family, being with my kids. I'm not a big, let's just go, I have so many friends. They're just going all the time and hanging out and doing all the things. And if you put me on a river somewhere and, with a fly fishing pole and by myself let me say with the guide, because I need help. I can't
Yeah.
do it on myself. That's where I'd be most happy. That's where I'd be most loving. I love being in the mountains. That's my favorite place to be, on a river somewhere. If you that for me, that'd be quintessential, man. What a day. And then spend with my daughters. I got 3 girls,
Oh,
10, 7, and 18 months. Can you believe that, buddy? At this age in my life, I had a little COVID surprise. Her name is Elle, and she's precious. And 3 girls, and so I love being a girl dad, which is crazy, because I never thought. I mean, never dreamed. I have only brothers growing up, and so
yeah, yeah.
I have it all girls, and love being a girl dad. I didn't know, how am I going to do this? I don't know anything about girls. I don't even know anything about my wife. Still don't. But it's like, wow, how do I do this with girls? And I can't imagine now it being any other way. And just loving every second with them, and they're precious. And so that's what's most important to me.
Yeah, it's so good for people, even the people that are listening, whether you're like pulled over on the side of the road or you're out jogging and listening to this conversation. Just the theme is this, like, just be you, figure out who you are. I love the prayer of a honest dad is Mark 9. And he said, I believe, just help my disbelief. Like, help me with
Woo!
all the part that I just don't get. He doesn't care what your faith looks like. Let's just talk about what it is.
Yes.
And then you don't become a caricature of who you are. So I don't become Happy Bob, the guy. I remember having to speak at a thing, or having the opportunity to, in Los Angeles. And the day before, my entire house burned to the ground. And I was supposed to be Happy Bob. And I felt like so conflicted. I'd be like, gosh, it's just every memory that we had just like got incinerated. And 2 mice that we couldn't get rid of. I was just the most expensive funeral for them ever. Um, but um, but that internal conflict, we say, like, Sue, who are we supposed to be? And I just want to encourage people to just be authentic, to say, hey, there's a whole bunch of things to be freaked out about, but there's even more to be hopeful for.
That
Um,
is truth. It's something you're touching on too. I'm sure with the wisdom that you've touched on this many times, but it's something I like to remind people too, because it's something I have to remind myself, and that is, comparison will destroys you. And so comparison destroys the soul. It absolutely does. And what I mean by that is just looking at other people, looking at their lives or their families or their jobs, or wherever they're coming from, and go, God, that's what, if I had that, then it would be a different. And man, as a musician, as someone who's, you're always in comparison, because you see that you have the charts in front of you every week, and it's like all these people are doing better than you. And every week, if you look at that stuff and get caught in that stuff, and you're constantly in a game, of like, who's better and who's doing better. And man, that is just horrible. I mean, that's just like, it kills you, the soul. And so I try to like I try to not be in that world, so much so I am completely don't have any social media. Like, it's not good for me. And that's just my path.
yeah.
Now people say, well, I follow you. Well, you follow me, but you follow my team, really, and I'll interject things, but I try not to have it on this
Yeah.
phone, because it's just like, it's never good for me. Now that is showing, I'm just being honest with how weak I am. Right here, right at the start. But like, for a lot of people, it doesn't bother them. For me, it does, because all it is comparison game. And like, I just don't need to be in that game. I got what God's put in front of me with my family and my girls, and the work He's put me to do, and that's where I need my head's got to be, and it can't be like, well, I should do it like they do it, or something like that. And so I don't know why I got into all that, but that's a
No,
big part.
that's
That's
no,
just
that's
big.
just like super practical stuff. There's this real honest prayer that I have before I have an opportunity to say something to people, and I want to take away everything that I'm known for, and whatever's left is who I am. So take away Bob the lawyer, take away Bob the author, take away Bob the happy dude, take away, like, strip all that away, and whatever's left is who you are. That's who you get today. And that's just a really honest kind of centering prayer. So I don't feel like I need to be whoever somebody is hoping I'll be. Um, For
Yeah.
me, we operate in terms of availability. I'm guessing a little different. So I put my cell phone number in the back of 2.5 million books. And so, so I get quite a few calls every
A little
day.
bit different. Little different.
And for me, that's been really centering because I'm just thinking about how I came wired from the factory as a flaming seven. And I just love how Jesus was constantly interrupted by people. Yet I'm married to Sweet Maria Goff, who I think is wired a little bit more like you. So she thinks having me in the room is a lot of people. So how do you navigate availability to people and being fully present? Because we've been at the same place a bunch of times, and you're just there and present with people, yet at the same time knowing your God-given wiring and just settling into that I just like a lot of people is not my love language.
Yeah, and it's taken me a long time. I told Lauren, my wife, I feel like I'm in the middle, extrovert, introvert. I thought, she's like, well, we're going to take this test, and the Myers-Briggs, we're going to take it, and I'm going to show you you're just going to show you what you are. I said, I promise you, I'm going to score in the middle. She goes, no one scores in the middle. It's going to show you. I scored exactly in the middle between the two. It was hilarious. But I feel like, and a big part of that is I was such an extrovert growing up as a kid. I mean, I was always the class clown. I never got satisfactory. You get S in conduct.
Yeah.
Never got it. Never got an S.
And
never won.
Needs improvement.
I got an N. Every single report card, I got an N. They wouldn't give me a U, which is unsatisfied, because you couldn't play sports, and I was a decent athlete. So there was in my town, there wasn't a lot of good athletes, so they needed you on the team, so they wouldn't give me a U, but they gave me an N. I got an N every time, and so and I'd get in trouble. I'd get in trouble. I'd get grounded every single time. I got a report card, and I was just like, I just loved to goof off, and it was just fun. I just love having fun. And and it's interesting, like as I've gotten older, it's gotten more like, and I wonder if it's because of the the crowds of people and what my life has put me in front of. I wonder if that has changed me a little bit. But I would say I would answer that question was, I feel like I've gotten even better at being very present with people upon being married, because my wife would talk to me about that, and she's like, "Hey, I think you don't know how you come off sometimes to people. People are coming up to talk to you," and she's really helped me see that. And I've always been very grateful. It's funny you say that, because asking that, because Ashlyn, my oldest, I took her to school this morning, and she asked me on the way, she said, "Dad, what's it like when people are, when we're somewhere, people come in and want a picture or want you to sign things?" She goes, "I just think that'd be so cool all the time." And I was like, I really appreciate it. I don't think of it that I just think of people being thankful for the music. I was trying to tell my daughter, I think it's people's way of saying that my music has meant something to them, and it's not about really me. It's the songs have touched them. And I said, and what an amazing thing. I was talking to my daughter, what an amazing thing. And I really feel that, like, what an amazing thing that could write a song and it's meant something to somebody in somebody's life at either a hard time or a great time in their life. And it takes people to that place. And so that's how I always consider it. So when I'm on the road and I'm doing this work and I'm out there with people, I try to stay in that mindset of like, Lord, thank you. I'm so grateful that these songs have meant something to people, and it really does, and it puts me in that great place of just, because I love people, I love being people, I love great friends, but I can tell, I can feel like at a time where, like, if it's at some point I'm like, okay, my batteries are going down, I better go find something else, because I'm about to go under. But that's interesting how that's shifted through my life. But I feel in the best place ever, because grateful. Think of, you can relate with this, but just going down the road this long. This is I'm just releasing this record, and this is I think it's my 17th album to make, and doing it this long, you're just more grateful every time. It's like, Lord, thank you so much that I can still I still have this fire in me to do this fire that does not go out, and write songs, and that hopefully these songs matter, and hopefully they matter to people. And so when you get to be with people and they're like, wow, this song is meant to this or this and that, it's just so I'm just so grateful for those moments.
You have the ability, whether it's a smell, a sound, a song, maybe a story that's in a book, but it's a tap on the shoulder. It's a reminder of something. Like you smell the apple pie and it brings you right back to when you were 7 years old and your mom used to cool those, or you hear a song and it brings you back to when your faith was simpler. Tell us about your new album. It's Always, and it's coming out September. Tell us about it. Why'd you write it? What's the inspiration when people are listening to the song? What are you trying to say to them when you tap them on the shoulder to say, remember this about how good God is? Tell us about that.
I love the way you set that up, because that's exactly right. That it's in the title, Always. So there's a song Always, but I titled the record Always, in the sense of what a beautiful one word. When you're talking about the Lord, when you're talking about God, always, what an incredible word to describe. There's not a lot of things in life that are always. Most things end. Most things let you down. There's not a lot of, it feels like there's not a lot of things you can really count on that are going to be there forever. And I love that word always, which means it's everlasting, it's eternal, it's faithful. I think about the faithfulness of God in my life when I've been faithless. That's one of my favorite passages. God is faithful even when we're faithless, for he cannot deny himself. And that's who he is. And God is faithful. And if we ever need to be reminded in a world today that our faith is not 30 minutes old, that we stand in a generation after generation after generation. And in a world where it feels shifting, truth feels shifting all the time. Where is the foundation? Is there something that I can put my feet on that is solid and that is not like, well, that's good for this year, for 2022, but I don't know in 2023 if that's going to be a good truth or not. I feel there is something, and that's the faithfulness of God. That's the foundation of my faith, and that's been for generation after generation, and long after I'm gone, generations to come. And that always, that everlasting kind of faith. And this record is full circle. This is what I've always tried to do. I've always wanted to be, since I started doing this out of high school, I couldn't articulate it this way then, but I can now. And I wanted to give people a voice to worship God, to connect, to point people to, I've never been one who thinks they have the answers. I've never been one who said, man, I got the answers. But I've been one, but hopefully my music points them in that place where they can find the truth. And that's what I want this music to do. Give people a voice to worship God, to connect to something greater than themselves, to hopefully find some songs that are transcendent. There are a few songs on there that are written that way. What I mean by that is that takes us beyond what we see around us, beyond our circumstance, beyond our physical self, and to transcend us into something that reminds us of the greater story, the bigger picture, that is really true. That, wow, there is something greater than me. There's a song on the record, Bob, called Holy Forever. And it points people to that. To me, that's the anchor song of the record. It's a song that really captures, hopefully, this idea of the worship of heaven, that there is this word holy, which I think is one of the most powerful. It's one of the most powerful 4-letter words of all. Holy.
We're going to hear a lot of that when we get to heaven.
Think about that. It says there is an eternal song. There is an everlasting song. And it tells us what it is. It says, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. It says day and night, it never stops. That is this resounding anthem of worship of heaven. And so trying to capture that and let people join in, just get a little touch, help people join in on earth in that song, in that sound. And that sound, it reverberates in all kinds of, mine's just one little sound. I only have the ability to make the sound I know how to make. Just think about all the sound of creation, the sound of all the sound of all the nations, the sound of all kinds of music that comes, but all coming around one great word of holy, which means set apart, which means completely other. This one I'm coming to is not like me, beyond me. That's what holy means. And that's what I try to do with my songs in the best way I can. And this record's really full circle in that, in helping people. Hopefully there's a song on there that really helps them connect in that way in their heart to God. And so that idea of always, of everlasting, is what is it? It's an invitation for people to like, wow, to remember, wow, yes, this is an everlasting, eternal faith. And that this when it comes to worship, it's different than any other kind of music. And when I say that, I'm trying to say it's better, but it's saying it's different in the sense of not trying to entertain anybody, but it's if your soul is connecting to something completely eternal. And that's powerful. And I take great responsibility in that. And hopefully some of these songs help connect people that way.
And the legacy that you're going to leave behind for your family, for these beautiful girls, will be a guy that's cracking the door open, inviting people in, and saying there's a fixed point that you can head towards. Up in Canada, the only way in and out of this place is a seaplane or a super long boat ride. And so what you need to have is a fixed point that you're aiming for. And no matter where you're coming from, you know that fixed point, and you can just triangulate on it. So I'm kind of seeing this new album that's coming out, as along with your other ones, as being creating a fixed point, keeping your eyes fixed on Jesus, not distracted by comparison, not distracted by everything. But thank you for cracking the door open and saying, let's just fix our eyes here, wherever you're coming from, whether you've been hanging out with Jesus for 20 years or 20 minutes, or you're just thinking maybe. Thank you for doing that. The album is called Always. It's coming out September 9th. Chris, thank you for making a little bit of time. You're a good guy, good friend, and just thankful for a moment of vulnerability with a couple friends. Just saying, man, what do they say? One blind man showing the other blind man where the bread is.
That's the truth, man. I really appreciate that. I love talking to you today. I love everything you do and about with people as well, and the way you help people so much and find God's love and his grace. And so great to talk to you as well. Yeah.
Love to the family. We'll go find that river and set you out there with a pole and a guide.
And a guide.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later, Chris.
See you, buddy.